Oh yeah, I'm really late. Fall Anime 2022 gave us weebs some great comeback anime genres this year, such as action, drama, ecchi, isekai, mystery, fantasy, supernatural, adventure, slice of life, sports, horror, comedy, romance, sci-fi. But even so, the animes we'll be seeing this winter anime seasonal will leave us wanting more than ever before. Nothing has prepared us for what's to come for this year's anime fall season. Winter anime is here, and there is a total of 51 animes this seasonal without including the animes crossing over from last seasonal. But just like always, here are some sequels that haven't been able to catch up yet but will be airing for this seasonal as well. Finally, a fantasy anime that isn't isekai. In this adventurous story, we follow Nick, who is a light fighter and is partied with countless battle arts, who also has a girlfriend and a father figure in the party as well. But then Nick gets expelled from the party by being accused for nicking money from the funds. See what I did there? Causing Nick to lose everyone that trusted him. After several weeks, Nick happens to pick a new hobby that soon lands him in needing to find a new party to make money. One night, Nick ends up in a local tavern where fate leads him to meeting 3 fellow adventurers. After a night of drinking, the 4 bond over their own betrayals and their destroyed ability to trust anyone. After hearing everyone's story of what happened, Nick hatches an idea for the 5 of them to form a party. So forth, a new story begins for these adventurers that believe that humans are scum and to make money to continue their hobbies. Seeing these adventurers working together and seeing ways that help enable them to slowly trust each other outside or inside of combat is pretty cool to see, showing that each role has a way of losing or gaining trust. There's gonna be a lot of GL this year compared to the past 4 years, starting with this one. Princess Anicia having no magic at all despite being royal. Anicia goes against the normal order of magic by developing magicology, a unique magical theory based on memories from her past life. After crashing a party and witnesses the brilliant noble woman Euphilia unjustly stripped of her title as a kingdom's next queen, that's when Anicia snatches Euphilia and gets her to become her assistant in her magicology research to help Euphilia regain her good name, which somehow involves them living together. I'm not much of a GL lover when it comes to romance, but the world of this fantasy of magic is pretty cool to see on the first episode, and seeing how the FMC is pretty much Chisako 2.0 from Licorice Recoil, and how pretty funny the comedy can be at times. I may stick around and see how this one goes.
好きになってもらえたらなって。
We have an exciting adult cast workplace anime that introduces Fuyutsuki as a calm woman with a cool, laid-back personality. Heading to her new job, she stumbles upon a young man that has snow falling around him. Himuru, who is a descendant of the snow woman spirit that allows him to have a supernatural powers. Seeing how Himuro shows his expression by how his power reacts from having a snow blizzard, an igloo, or even tiny snowman popping out. Fuyutsuki tries to help out whenever Himuro is having unconventional problems, causing Himuro to have a soft spot for Fuyutsuki and to do whatever it takes to capture her heart. This seems like a very wholesome story of a SOL with a twist of supernatural. Seeing the 2 MC interact gives me a whole lot of good vibes, and by seeing how they'll slowly grow and change in the story will be fun to see as well. Hey look, it's a rip-off version of Vivi Fluoride Ice Song. Okay, jokes aside, seeing as the world is pretty much fucked in some sense, and seeing the humans rely on androids to do most of the labor work, we follow 4 androids with unique quirks that live together and needing to find a way to make money. So what do? They become android idols. As these characters climb their way to the top of the entertainment tower, they encounter a boy that's a mad genius that can do maintenance repairs on androids. If you really have nothing else to watch, or you like idol animes for some reason, then this might just be for you. Finally, we have a tomboy that is the MC. Seeing how Jun and Tomo-chan are the best homies that goes through thick and thin with knowing they have each other's back. But there's only one small problem. Tomo is in love with June. With how long June has been hanging out with Tomo, June has a hard time seeing her advances, even when Tomo confesses to him in the first episode. With that said, June knows that Tomo is a girl but is still in denial because he wants to keep his friendship he has with her. For this kind of rom-com anime, comedy is very appealing to me, with also the relations that these supporting characters has with each other. But I do gotta say that Tomboys just hits different. Mahiro Oyama was just a normal shut-in erotic game loving dude until he woke up one morning as a lolly, seeing how his mad scientist little sister Mihira was able to turn him into a girl and now wanting to experiment him. Now, in order for Mahiro to live a somewhat normal life, he's challenged with obstacles that girls have to do in their daily lives. With Mahiro still determined to live as a shut-in, one thing's for sure is that his life is gonna get a whole lot weirder from here on out. Seeing how the Studio Bin is working on this anime that did Jobless Reincarnation, the camera work and animation is pretty good, even after the weird things that Mahiro gets into and how perverted his sister can be. I can't help but to enjoy the lighthearted situation and wholesome part of it as well. This will be a fun one to watch as it unravels the trauma of Mahiro. Here we have a group of assassins, a doctor, a trap, a gambler, and the odd job. Usi Yuen looking into a job request from a series of assassinations made on a grand samurai clan of the Satsuma, while also stumbling across a samurai known as Kurama that is involved with the situation. Seeing how Kurama is later betrayed by the Satsuma, Utsui helps Kurama and reveals the truth behind the assassinations. Kurama, working with the assassins, was able to get his revenge, but with no other path to go, Kurama ends up joining the odd job group, leaving behind his samurai pride and his loved ones. As an original anime not really knowing what could happen next, this anime sets up an interesting environment of the world setting, job system, and some very different characters with different ideas for how they see the world. By seeing the group doing missions by preventing the injustice from the rich and helping the people in need. After a gruesome war wreaking havoc, the government turns into a better tactical solution involving a war fought in the shadow, following a beautiful girl with white locks named Lily being a student in training to become a capable spy one day, only able to pass the bare minimum of the practical exam with not knowing if she would get recruited at all, until she is offered an opportunity to join the mysterious team Toboshibi and partake in an impassable mission. Lily being excited and arriving at the palace only to find out the truth behind the impassable mission, where Lily joins other problematic female spies along with a young man named Klaus that is the best spy ever, with only months to teach these girls to be the best. The only problem is that Klaus has never taught anyone before. Klaus being a total Chad he is, from how he explains how he did it by saying, I find it very funny. What's up with these characters dying on a deathbed instead of Truck-kun? Oh wait, he already has a harem. I'll let this one slide for now. With a god that fucks up a lot, he throws our boy that wanted to become a farmer in a forest of nowhere and being able to make tools from his mind that isn't too complex. Finding a good place to start out his farm life, he gathers the essentials he needs to survive while also learning from his mistakes. This farming anime is already 10 times better than the last one before, by how the MC has a fun time farming with how he Dr. Stone his way of explaining things. This will be a comfy anime to watch this seasonal. After losing her mother, Anne decides to become a silver sugar master like her mother. And in order to become a silver sugar master, she will need to win the top spot and receive a royal medal in a town called Lewiston, where the royal family holds a sugar sculpture festival. In the past 500 years, humans treated fairies as slaves and take one of their wings to control them. Seeing how if you crush the wing, it would weaken them to the point that they could die from it. And needing a fairy that can protect her, she finds a fairy warrior that can be her bodyguard. Being how Anne grew up, she was torn between setting Shao free, but needing a bodyguard on the dangerous roads to the festival. This OG seems somewhat interesting with its own take of the slavery switch, wondering what paths these two take, as one is set on having hatred while the other seeks out friendship. Seems like this one is gonna be a generic fantasy academy anime, so I'll be quick with this one. Seeing how Ray White, with the power of ice blade magician that helped lead the country to victory from a bloody war 3 years ago. Only a few knew his true name. Ray enrolls at Arnold Academy wanting to experience a normal life. Despite being a commoner, Ray was able to befriend quirky characters. However, conspiracy is lurking in the academy walls. Ray having the task to find a spy that has unclear motives towards him while also wanting to protect his newfound friends and the people he holds dear, even if it means to confront his past. Seeing the title pretty much sums up the story in the beginning. Seeing how Daryl doesn't have any magic that defines the difference between a demon and human and has no place to go, he stumbles upon a lady being attacked by a big Chad monkey. Knowing full well of his limits, he was able to defeat the monkey by using a human sword even if going against his beliefs. But after living in a small village and then becoming an adventurer, Daryl finds out that he was human after all this time. Oh wow, who didn't see that coming? But what really surprised me was that he was actually OP. But still, it'll be interesting to see what happens in his journey with meeting new people and to face his past. And there is no other reason to watch this besides that. Just some good old adventure stuff. Nothing to see here. Who's ready for some Spy X Family Walmart edition? Alright, with jokes aside, we follow two best bros that has totally opposite personalities that work in a dangerous job, causing Kazuki to stay away from the people he loves so they can be safe. Seeing how Kazuki plans the job while Ri does the execution of the plan and the fighting. In one mission, they sneak their way in a hotel for a Christmas party that their target was having. To their surprise, a young girl named Miri happens to join the other two, which happens to be looking for a person that's her father. During the fight, in order to keep Miri from being in danger, Kazuki ends up telling her that he's her father. After finishing the job and taking the girl with them, Kazuki later finds out that their target was actually Miri's father. Now these two assassins have another job at hand, actually being caretakers. As an original series of PA works, I'm sure there will be a lot of good moments for how these characters will interact with each other on a day-to-day action base. Here we have another original anime. In a world where humans leading a 30-year-old war against giant beasts that roam around the lands devouring their resources. The people that fight these monsters are called Nagimori, who utilizes the destructive power of Kanagi, being gifted with uncontrollable magical powers. A young woman, Kumi, being a test subject, escapes the palace while being hunted by the underlings of Mizami, the head of the research facility. Kumi crosses paths with a fellow man named Jiro, who is a former Nagimori that was mourning about his war partner's death. After Jiro helping out Kumi escape from her pursuers, Jiro with his new Kanagi partner along with his new friend Miya, which has a cat personality trait. As this trio is traveling across the Assyrian lands, top officials begin setting their plans into motion, and the group of adventurers soon discover that men are to be feared more than monsters. So far, the show starts off strong with the premise of the world leading these characters having to work together in order to defeat the objects in front of them. Haruyoshi being the strongest exorcist in this first life, he then gets betrayed by the imperial court. On the verge of dying, he attempts the secret reincarnation technique and was sent to a different world, being born in a family of magicians but wasn't able to obtain any magic. In a world where magic is everything, Haruyoshi rather relies on his Otanix, which is more superior. So yeah, this is just another basic isekai where the MC is for sure to get all the babes. Alright, so we have another remake anime just like last seasonal, but before I talk about the story of this new remake, I would like to talk about the direction of this anime is heading at. If you consider the CGI to be terrible and don't like the texture of it, then let me just remind you that some animes that has been adapted in the worst possible ways when doing CGI, such as X Arms and Seven Deadly Sins, the movie. But I do understand that 2D anime can be helpful in a lot of things. A quick example is character design by adding more details or texture to certain body parts. As someone that watches both 2D and 3D of animation, I can trust Studio Orange when it comes to action-packed animes. For a quick example, Beastars. But like always for me, story comes first and animation comes second. But let's talk about the description first. Vash the Stampede's a joyful gunslinger pacifist. So why does he have a 6 million bounty on his head? That is what's puzzling rookie reporter Merle Sturfy and her jaded veteran partner when looking into the vigilante only to find out someone who hates blood. But their investigation turns out to uncover something horrendous. His evil twin, Million's Knives. With that out of the way, I just want to disclose that I haven't read the manga or watch the OG anime. So I'm coming off as a new viewer to this world, but I can tell that of the writing of the story, I feel like it lacks a serious tone and how quickly they change the character aspects, such as that captain wanting to capture Vash and later decides to shoot a rocket in the air that can destroy the town and Vash also. To me, the comedy seems just about right. I can't really judge the characters' chemistry as I can't tell if it's any better than the OG, but if it makes you feel any better, I'll be watching the original anime alongside with this one. But for people that are new to this anime just like me, just keep an open mind in things, and if you're interested into why the veterans can't stand this one and rather stand with the OG anime, then I highly recommend to watch that as well. It's time to rise once again, my fellow degenerates. Getting to see our boy getting reincarnated or turning into a dog and becoming someone's pet. But it's not anyone's pet, but he's the pet of his fellow crush from high school. Inuke naming him Pochita. Pochita trying to adjust his new life while also trying to escape. But then he sees a new side of Inuke that he never saw at school. I'm pretty sure last seasonal they've been slowly hinting us about dog kinks. But in my defense of saying that, the best example that I could say would be Chainsaw Man. We have another Otome game anime with an interesting twist as well. Tobayashi and Endo being in the broadcast club, Tobayashi always liked to talk about Magikoi, which is an Otome game where the protagonist Fiend is to attend the Royal Academy of Magic with having love interests in it. Even though how colorful it is, the villainess in this story, Liselot, regards of how rude she acts towards Fiend, she actually wants to be friends with her, with also Liselot being deeply in love of her own fiance. Being the main love interest, unfortunately, in almost every route, Liselot is doomed to have a tragic ending. On the side of the story, Kobayashi manages to convince Endo to play Magikoi to practice his speaking skills, which leads the both of them to have a unique relationship. And what it seems like a normal playthrough of the game, Sewald suddenly hears the players' voices inside the game. Now labeled as gods, Endo and Kobayashi uses their comments and analytics to save their beloved Tsundere villainess from her fated demise. I'm not much into Otome game animes, but seeing how there's a twist of not being isekai, but seeing the two high schoolers able to communicate to these in-game characters, it feels pretty refreshing to see, and also seeing how they see right through the Tsundere as well. Man, I can't wait to go home and jerk off. Oh, there's a girl waiting out in the rain. Not my fucking problem. Seeing that Shina being called the all-beloved angel that excels in both academics and athletics, Shina lives in an entirely different world from Fujiyama. Despite living so close together, they have never spoken once. Fujiyama breaking the silence when he sees Shina in the rain looking sad. He hands her his umbrella, which causes him to catch a cold later on. Shina wishes to return the favor of the umbrella by nursing him back to health. Fujiyama believing that would be their last interaction, Shina starts to worry how Fujiyama has been living ever since and decides to cook and clean for him. As the unlikely pair spend time together in Fujiyama's apartment, they explore the true nature of their relationship and the gentle emotion that emerge from it. So far, it's interesting how Fujiyama gets to see the uncute side of Shina when they are alone, with also seeing there is a reason why Shina lives alone regardless of her status. Nothing too crazy for this rom-com, but just the way they treat each other. I'll be honest with you, the moment that I saw this title, this was gonna be the trash isekai for this seasonal. One day, Mitsuha falls off a cliff and is transported to a medieval Europe type world. After a near-death encounter with a pack of wolves, he then realizes that she's able to transport between two worlds, this one and her own. Taking advantage of this ability, Mitsuha decides to live in both worlds and calculates that she'll need 80,000 gold coins to be able to retire. Mitsuha now has to come up with different ways to collect her gold coins. One thing's for sure that I found cool in this anime is that it can get gory or intense sometimes, besides the development of the characters. Before talking about this anime adaptation from the game itself, I have never played the game, but from the feedback from the people that played it, it seems like A1 Pictures did justice. So to put the story simple, mankind is at the brink of extinction by the hands of aliens and their creation of machine life forms. After taking refuge on the moon, mankind decides decided to make android soldiers to recapture Earth, only causing the war at a stalemate. Later on, newly dispatched to Earth, 2B joins 9S. The analysts currently stationed there, where amid their mission, they encounter a myriad of mysterious phenomena. We find Saito, that is a handyman from his previous world that treated him like crap and gets teleported to another world. Saito ends up grouping with 3 other people, a heavy warrior, a moonlight fairy, and a mage boomer, needing Saito's lockpick treasures and other physical traps in the dungeon. As we discover these quirks of the 3 other characters, we soon see what their true purpose is from behind, with also showing us side stories of other characters that will soon collide with the main story. Here we have a slice of life that's all about judo, with of course cute girls doing physical things. Seeing Michi losing in her last judo tournament, she decides to call it quits on the sport of judo. Michi's studying hard to enter a well-known high school, now wanting a normal life as a high school girl, with putting aside old hobbies as a sign of growing up. Still, the love of judo lingers. With a huge wake-up call happens when she meets her new classmate Toa, the girl who bested Michi in her final match. Toa being the only judo club member, she asks Michi to join once more, united by their love of judo and by showing their passion by throwing themselves in the ring and score Ippo again. Seeing the different situation that the girls have will give a lot more growth and fight for the passion that they have for judo. I don't say this much, but believe me when I say it. This anime is absolutely a hidden gem for this seasonal. After seeing a big battlefield with no context but a bunch of cards coming out of an important briefcase, after discovering that his orphanage was on a brink of closing due to the financial stress, Finn, who was living freely on the streets, set out to a casino with the aim of making a fortune. However, nothing could have prepared Finn for the nightmare that was awaiting him. Once there, Finn encountered a car chase and bloody shootout caused by a man's lucky card. Finn soon eventually learns what the shootout was all about. The world order can be controlled by a set of 52 X-Plane cards with the power of bestow different superhuman powers and abilities to the ones that possess them. The High Card is a secret group that is ordered by the King of the Foreland to collect the cards that have been scattered throughout the kingdom. Finn soon joins the players on a dangerous mission to find these cards. They must fight against the Pinoche, the Claudites, and the famous Mafia family, standing in the way of the gang. A battle amongst these card-obsessed players fueled by justice, desire, and revenge is about to begin. The first episode was all it took for me to be convinced that this was going to be a very entertaining anime. We see another isekai where a man gets turned into a girl when being reborn. The goddess named Alicia hears the plea of the hero king after devoting his life building himself an empire and the statecraft of his subjects' well-being. Alicia flinging his soul into the far future, Inglis finding himself born in the far future as a daughter of the Ikus noble family. 6 years later, Inglis is discovered to be runeless and capable of utilizing the runes that enabled the use of magic in this era. She is therefore ineligible to become a knight. However, this fits in well with Inglis' plan. She instead decides to become the squire for her cousin, Rafina Bilford, allowing Inglis to focus on pushing her limits. Now, I'm not expecting this anime to be on the same level as Sage of Tanya the Evil, but the world building seems pretty solid with how the FMC is going to handle her situation when learning to become more powerful.
そのまさかです。
We have yet another cute version of teasing Master Takagi-san, but with the MC having the invisibility cloak. Shiraishi is a high school student having one simple goal in mind, having a fulfilling life. But there's one thing that keeps him from achieving that. Everyone around his surrounding often fails to notice him due to the lack of presence. In fact, Shiraishi's lack of presence is so severe that people think his seat in class is always empty. But there happens to be one person that can spot him anytime, and that happens to be Kubo. Unfortunately, Kubo likes to tease him on a daily basis and often puts him into unprecedented and nerve-wracking situations. With all the playful teasing between Kubo and Shiraishi, he may soon discover that he is the MC in this anime. I was really expecting to find this mid by what that theme was gonna be about, but the whole invisible thing actually works well. And on top of that, the light romance and the comedy transactions are pretty damn good. So good that I get diabetes. Hey yo, is that that Eren and Mikasa? What an interesting way to start off by showing two people impaled and by showing it in inverted colors while showing a giant ass monster looking down at a timid boy. It's almost like Eren is looking at a reflection of himself. Okay, jokes aside, Yaoma, having a hatred to the Suku Mogami, ends up being sent to a household that is full of Suku Mogamis with an exception of one girl. Botan, being the master of these 6 Suku Mogamis that are different from the ones that Yaoma encountered before, now has to learn how to live with them or else he gets disowned from his own clan. So far, the first 2 episodes has shown me the goal that the MC has in mind as to what changes he will have while living in that house. We have yet another gender blend anime with the culture tag ecchi. Ayakashi are strange, supernatural creatures invisible to the majority of people. Though most are harmless, most Ayakashi attack humans to devour their life force. Exorcist ninjas are tasked with protecting people from these spiteful spirits. Matsuri is a young exorcist ninja born in a prestigious clan. His childhood friend Suzu is an Ayakashi medium, someone with immense vitality that attracts Ayakashis. With Matsuri ideal wanting to keep Suzu away from Ayakashis, Suzu ideal is to remain close to them. One day the pair encounter Shurigane, the king of Ayakashi, who was hell-bent on consuming Suzu. As she is about to be eaten, Matsuri comes to the rescue and manages to steal the Ayakashi's powers, but not before Shurigane takes revenge by turning him into a girl. Until he finds a way to transform back, Matsuri must adjust to his new life while still fighting against hostile Ayakashis. Moreover, Suzu is more conflicted about her feelings towards Matsuri, further plundering their relationship into chaos. Sadly, there is like so much censorship that they may as well remove the ecchi tag. Story is alright, but I'm here for the culture part of it. Yoshi, a 27-year-old, getting transported in a fantasy world by 3 other heroes, only later to find out that he was dragged into the summoning ritual by accident. His only skill is that he can open a food menu that can obtain food-related supermarket items from modern Japan. Yoshi setting out on his own and meeting other adventurers by the delicious food he makes that even attracts the legendary wolf Fenrir. Fenrir, shocked by how amazing the food is, the creature immediately forms a contract with Tsuyoshi, becoming his familiar. Now Tsuyoshi taking up a job as a merchant and adventurer, traveling and cooking up mouth-watering meals that never fail to amaze the inhabitants of this world. From the creator and director that gave us Sidonia no Kishi, in a world that is covered in snow where water has become scarce and with humanity facing extinction, in this story we have 2 characters that lives in complete different worlds. Kena being the last young man living on top of the orbital tree, he watches down at the endless snow sea wondering if there is anyone left down there. Liliha, the princess of Atlan, having lived in the snow of the sea her whole life, wanting to reach the top of the tree where, according to the legend, there exists a sage who knows the secret of producing abundant quantities of water to save mankind, using an organic air hot balloon to climb to the top of the orbital tree in hopes of meeting her country's savior, finally reaching the canopy of where the area appears to be an infinite window of transparent ice. She meets Kenya, however she cannot find the man that she was looking for. Unable to return by herself to her country, the princess finds a helping hand in Kenya with eager to explore the world that he once thought was empty. As Kenya is learning about the war against Lilia country, the antagonistic technology advanced nation Valgon, and other pearls of the surface, he realizes that his escorting mission will prove more difficult than he imagined. I always found Nihai's fantasy worlds amazing to see, as this shows you a world that has different rules and giving mature context in the story that he writes. We have yet another intriguing fantasy anime. Hitari no O takes place in the aftermath of humanity's last war. The world is enveloped with a black forest and people have become infected with a pathogen that causes them to burst into flame in the presence of natural fire. The only safe source of fire can be obtained by hunting black beasts, which reside deep in the forest. The story revolves around Toko, a village-raised girl who lost her parents in a fire and later was saved by a fire hunter that died. Leaving behind his hound and sickle, Toko now being responsible to return the hound and sickle to the capital where the fire hunters are. Koshi, a former student in the capital having lost his mother by being ill from the capital factory, he encounters Toko Shoko, who were not supposed to cross paths, will change the fate of the world. So far, the soundtrack and how complex the story is in a positive way, this one is for sure a must watch. Netflix being Netflix, we have a binge watch for this season. On a cold planet of ice and snow, mysterious creatures suddenly have appeared from the dark underground and have begun to attack the inhabitants. Can humanity survive the terror lurking up beyond the horizon? It has a total of 8 episodes, and so far the story is meh. It's gonna take some time to get used to the animation, but if you're watching all the animes in this seasonal and still want more, then here it is for you.
Stop it! You shouldn't be licking that!
This is actually an anime that I've been waiting for a long time since the anime of Junji Ito collection. Just like the last one, this is a horror, thriller, supernatural anime that you don't see much. Now of course the manga will always be better because how they show the art, but I always like hearing high tension soundtracks for some reason. But I'm still waiting for Uzumaki to be adapted. And here is the last bit I would like to recommend to the people that are still trying to find animes this seasonal that crossed over from last seasonal, and animes that are sequels that are worth checking out in my opinion. These animes has given me a wild ride of emotions that I didn't expect from it originally starting off. And thus far that is all there is for this seasonal of winter 2023. And yes, I do understand that this type of content of videos should be out within maybe the first 2 weeks of the seasonal. And I won't lie, I've been a bit lazy or I've been just too occupied with other things in real life. But if you actually happen to watch everything and actually got to this part, hopefully there was at least one anime or maybe 2 that you actually found interested on what I had to say about it and that got you to, maybe watch it. But hopefully next time I'm actually more focused on the next production of this type of video in the future of the next seasonal. But with that said, if you guys happen to enjoy the way that I did this type of video, leave a like, if not a dislike. But that's pretty much all I got to talk about. It's been your boy Puri Senpai, and I'll see you guys in the next seasonal.